Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. In a development the first of its kind in the Middle East, a center is open to assess earth layers and oil deposits in the Sultanate. Qualifying medical infrastructure and increasing investment top recommendations of the 7th International Conference of Health Issues in Arab Communities. The Ministry of Defense signs an agreement to develop the biggest commercial complex in the Governorate of Dhofar. And establishing new residential phases and prevention from fire top discussions of the Municipal Council of the Governorate of Buraimi. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of thanks from His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Emir of the State of Kuwait, in reply to His Majesty's cable of greetings on his country's National Day. His Majesty the Sultan also received a cable of thanks from His Excellency President Jose Eduardo dos Santos of Angola in reply to His Majesty's cable of greetings on his country's National Day. And His Majesty sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama of Ghana on his country's independence anniversary. All Reservoirs and Geological Assessment Technological Center is one of its kind in the Middle East. The center was inaugurated today at Ghala Industrial Estate in the Wilaya of Boshar under the auspices of His Excellency Engineer Salim bin Nasser Al Aufi, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Oil and Gas. It aims to qualify national cadres by international experts. It includes 50 specialized laboratories in the oil and gas sector, equipped with state-of-the-art equipment and technology. It will save time for laboratory analysis processes which had been concluded earlier outside the Sultanate. The Ministry of Oil and Gas plans to sign 2 investment contracts in oil and gas this year. That was announced to the Sultanate of Oman Radio and Television by His Excellency Engineer Salim bin Nasser Al Aufi, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Oil and Gas, who also mentioned that investors thought a delay in concluding new contracts due to fluctuations of oil prices. He said oil prices are between $50 and $60 depending on supply and demand factor, and hope that they will get higher. It is known that there is an oil glut in the market and there is a buying process for storing by some countries, and wish that this situation has come to its end. The 7th International Conference on Health Issues in Arab Communities concluded this afternoon. More detail in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubai.
The international conference, organized by the Arab Community Center for Economic and Social Services in co-partnership with the Ministry of Health in Oman, in affiliation with many academic and health institutions internationally and locally within the Sultanate, the United States of America, and several countries of the Arab world, has concluded its sessions this afternoon after witnessing extensive research presentation by scholars from the Arab world and Arab Americans.
This conference considered to be one of the largest conferences that has been conducted over the past few years here in the Sultanate. It includes more than 140 speakers from the United States and from different countries, from different Arab countries. They discussed many issues related to the health systems in the Arab world. They gave updates into prevention and treatment of all of these diseases.
The goal of which is to establish a platform whereby public health and healthcare professionals in the Arab world can interact with their counterparts from the United States of America, Canada, Europe, Australia, and other regions, and cross-fertilized ideas, information, and research findings of mutual benefit to understand the roots of health-related behaviors and healthcare decision-making that enhances the competency of scholars, healthcare providers, leaders, policymakers, public health officials, and other stakeholders in promoting health locally, nationally, and between the Arab member states.
This conference has been incredibly wonderful. Lots of exchanging of information, lots of comparing what's going on in a number of different countries. I'm actually finding many of the problems that are faced by Americans in big cities like Detroit or Atlanta are very similar to the problems that are being faced by people in the Middle East.
The gathering concluded their sessions with recommendations, of which is interest in building and developing the infrastructure for various health sectors in Arab region and provide adequate support to develop health systems through collaboration with experts in different medical specialties, calling for establishing institutions that care for health research. The need for putting together a comprehensive approach to raise awareness about organ transplantation. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television.
The Ministry of Defense signed an agreement to develop the biggest commercial complex in the Governorate of Dhofar under the name Salalah Grand Mall, which will occupy an area of 87,000 square meters and will contain in its first stage various shops, class restaurants and recreation area, with the aim to strengthen tourism and services sector and to make job opportunities available for the citizens. The agreement was signed by His Excellency Mohammed bin Nasser al-Rasbi, Secretary General of the Ministry of Defense and Executive Chairman of Pension Fund of the Ministry of Defense. Still to come in our news bulletin. The Governorate of Dakhiliya celebrates the conclusion of the 3rd edition of Youth Creations program.
سنتر يقدم لك تنزيلات مذهلة تتراوح من 20 إلى 70% على المفروشات والأثاث المنزلي. أسرع إلى أي من متاجرنا في سيتي سنتر مسقط، الخوير، صحار أو جاردنز مول في صلالة، ولا تفوت الفرصة.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. At least 18 civilians were killed in a single-barrel bomb attack in Syria's northern city of Aleppo today. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the bomb dropped from a helicopter struck an eastern sector of the divided city, where people were gathering to buy and sell fuel. In the northern province of Idlib, 7 civilians were killed in an airstrike near a school. The death came after UN envoy Staffan de Mistura dispatched a delegation to Aleppo in efforts to freeze fighting there. On Sunday, a rebel coalition rejected his plan, saying that among other problems, it did not address the government use of barrel bombs prohibited by the international community. Iraqi forces and militias fought with Daesh militants today to retake areas in the country's north. A video filmed by freelance cameramen showed Iraqi soldiers firing machine guns and mortars towards what they believed were Daesh group positions in the Alam district near the northern city of Tikrit. Iraqi troops were unable to advance as roadside mines and suicide attacks hindered their progress. The battle for Tikrit, a strategic city along the river Tigris, likely will be won or lost on allied Iraqi forces' ability to counter the extremist bombs. Tikrit, the provincial capital of Salah ad-Din province, is located 130 kilometers north of Baghdad. The period of choosing study subjects in grade 10 is one of the most important steps to invest in national manpower. through determining their academic and vocational path. In order to support the scientific path, more than 43,000 of male and female students continue choosing the subjects with the supervision of the National Career Guidance Center in various governorates of the Sultanate. Books on the personality and life of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos since the dawn of the Blessed Renaissance topped the list of books which attracted visitors of Muscat International Book Fair. The book Sultanate and Sultan records royal meetings of His Majesty the Sultan with a number of the world leaders and talked about the international and external Omani policy. The book journalists at the Royal Court of His Majesty the Sultan recorded published articles and press interviews with His Majesty, depicting a leader who has led his country away from disputes and worked as a peacemaker. The achievements of the Blessed Renaissance were described by a book titled The Welfare March, which recorded the strong bond linking His Majesty the Sultan and his people enjoying the features of Oman and building its Renaissance. Latest statistics issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information show that the total electricity production of the Sultanate exceeded more than 28,000 gigawatt by the end of December last year, compared to 2013, which witnessed a production of 26,000 gigawatt per hour, with an increase by 9.16%. The governorates of South and North Batna and Dhahira registered the highest rate of electricity production in 2014, compared to 2013, with an increase of 10.6%. The Sultanate also recorded a rise in water production by 13.2%, with more than 323 million cubic meters in 2014. The Sultanate's governorates witnessed an increase in water production with variable rates. In the governorate of Muscat, the increased rate amounted to 26.2%, while the water production in the governorate of Dhofar increased by 19.4%. The Sultanate's rise in electricity and water production came to meet great demand of these services under sustainable growth of economic activities and population. This gives local and foreign investors the opportunity to invest in establishing water and power plants in the governance of the Sultanate. Oman College of Management and Technology celebrated the graduation of 149 male and female students in a number of management and technology specializations and have gained diploma and bachelor degrees. The ceremony of the 8th batch graduation was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Isam bin Ali Arawas, Vice President of the Public Authority for Crafts Industries. Study and approval of residential site plan of extending Al Khabra area, as well as preventive procedures to protect from Congo fever disease, were at the top of matters viewed by the Municipal Council of the Governorate of Buraymi. The council also discussed reasons that led to fire blaze in plastic recycling factory in Buraymi Industrial Estate and prevention measures to avoid recurrence in the future, and to establish a new residential site plan in the wilaya of Mahda to keep up with the construction growth in the wilaya. The meeting was presided over by Mohammed bin Sulaiman Al-Azani, Deputy Chairman of the Municipal Council of the Governorate of Buraymi. Sports Affairs Department of the Governorate of Dakhiliya celebrated the conclusion of the 3rd edition of Youth Creations program at the level of the Governorate. It included activities such as reciting poems, visual shows of the competition stages and its events. An exhibition contained youth productions from various clubs was open. At the end of the event, the chief guest, His Excellency Hamid bin Sulaiman Al-Gharibi, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources for Regional Municipality, honored top place winners who qualified for the 3rd stage and earners of advanced positions in this year's edition. Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of low clouds along the northern part of the Sultanate and clouds and fog along the southeastern coast. Winds along the governorates of Musandam, Buraymi, Dhahira, Dakhiliya and the coastal areas of the Sea of Oman will be northwesterly light to moderate, while over the rest of the Sultanate it will be southwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be moderate along the coast of the governorate of Musandam with a maximum wave height of 2 meters, and along the rest of the coast it will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. In a development the first of its kind in the Middle East, a center is open to assess earth layers and oil deposits in the Sultanate. Qualifying medical infrastructure and increasing investment, top recommendations of the 7th International Conference of Health Issues in Arab Communities. The Ministry of Defense signs an agreement to develop the biggest commercial complex in the Governorate of Dhofar. And establishing new residential phases and prevention from fire, top discussions of Municipal Council of the Governorate of Buraimi. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.